Welcome race fans to the Homestead-Miami Indy 300 presented by Ford. I'm so happy that you could join us today. We're looking forward to the first race of the season here, and we are starting out at the Banked Oval at Homestead-Miami Speedway. We have quite a season ahead of us, and we're so happy that you have chosen to join us, and hope that we can put on a good show. We'll quickly take a look here at the IndyCar schedule coming up. As you see today, we're starting at Homestead-Miami with an oval. Next Sunday, we will go to the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, followed by another 300-miler at Kentucky Speedway. From there, we will go to the Indy GP of Alabama at Barber Motorsports Park. Here's a quick look at the rest of the season schedule. We've got 25 races this season, all ranging from high banked ovals to short tracks to road courses and street courses. So we have quite a journey ahead of us for this year. It's going to be a lot of hard racing, a lot of good clean racing, hopefully. So you'll notice here, Tom Blomqvist has taken a pole, but you'll notice there is some more information here than normal. For this fantasy season of IndyCar, we are saying that Ford, Toyota, Honda, and Chevy are our four engine manufacturers. Ford entering to compete directly with Chevy, and Toyota to compete directly with Honda. You'll also notice that we have two tire manufacturers. Firestone has been the go-to for IndyCar for years, but we are now seeing Goodyears available as well. So pretty good spread through the top 10 there. We will see throughout the day whether these new engines that are coming in with the Ford and the Toyota, whether they can hold up. 300 miles for your first race is a pretty daunting task. So we'll see how they hold up throughout the race. When you come down into turn 1 here, you'll notice a lot throughout the day that in packed situations, or if they're kind of wheel to wheel, you'll see guys go down below that apron, and I think that's going to be a key to watch today, because we've seen in practice, we saw in qualifying, as several people are already having to go to pits due to bumping, maybe losing the wing, things of that nature. We saw in practice and qualifying several incidents, and it comes down to just that. The guys that tended to stay up on the banking were able to stay a lot cleaner, and the guys that go down onto that apron, a lot of them, if they could make it stick, as we see Scott Dixon has lost his front wings, he'll have to come to pit road pretty soon. But we saw that if the guys that would go down there, the ones that really practiced it, tried to get it down pat, they got it pretty well figured out. But if you catch, as we see the 28 car of Marcus Ericsson do there, if you catch just a little too much of the apron, you lose all your momentum. So that will be a point of contention, as we saw several people have to head for the pits just on lap 2. Because in these packs, people go down the apron, and when you're packed up like that, we've seen several front wings be lost already. We had 1 or 2 losses. You see one go flying up the track there. We had a few front wing losses during practice, but at the beginning of the race here, with everybody packed up, it's you see Graham Rahal lost his front wing there. That must have been his that we saw. So that's probably 6 or 7 at this point. like I said, with these cars being packed in so tightly on the start there, it really led to a lot of bumping, and these Indy cars really aren't made to touch wheels like that. As we see, the teammates of Augustin Canapino and Romain Grosjean for Hugo Hollinger Racing are currently 1 and 2, and your pole sitter Tom Blomqvist has moved back to 3rd. So nice to see that the two teammates are running well together. You know, it might just be the strategy that they're on at this point. As we see, Canapino has got the draft off of one of the Air McLaren cars. You see, he really goes down on the apron. I saw in practice him do that several times, and Grosjean tends to kind of run the high side a little more. But nice to see that the teammates are both running strong here. They're both still running Chevy power this year, and we'll go throughout the race which teams have moved over, which ones have went to different engine or tire manufacturers. But for Hugo Hollinger, they are still running Chevy engines and Firestone tires, and that was mostly just due to kind of a cost saving for the team. You know, they're not that big, just a 2-car garage, and so their team sat down and determined over the off season that sticking with Chevy and Firestone was going to be the most cost productive there. And as we see, they're both running strong now, so we will see how it cycles out throughout the day. As we see, Graham Rahal all the way back to 22nd at this point, Scott Dixon 23rd. You know, we saw both of them have to come down for front wing changes pretty early on, so we will see throughout the day goes. Maybe they can get some cautions and cycle up to the lead, but we will have to keep an eye on their progress. So you see a little pack here. The field seems to have strung out a bit now that we've gotten a little bit into the race. You know, guys have been able to get a little room between them and their competitors, and now that we see those first pit stops have cycled through, guys that had to come to get new wings and things of that nature. As we ride along here, you see several people cut to the pits there, and it looked like a car. On the inside there. Race control. We saw the yellow momentarily. Race control has determined that that car was, I guess, in a safe enough spot that was able to get moving again, and so they have determined to stay green. So we cycle through the field here with some onboards. You'll notice the Indy cars have like the red there on the 12 car. That pod is a 360-degree camera, so we will definitely use this view several times throughout the day just to kind of get us a quick view of what's going on. We see, I think that was Felix Rosenquist on pit road. They seem to have the engine cover off. He has not had a good weekend all around. Unfortunately, Rosenquist qualified last position. They've been having some issues with that car all weekend, and race control is saying that he's been in the pits as of lap 6. So unfortunately, whatever issues that team was having mechanically, they have not been able to solve it at this point. So we will keep an eye on that and see how he cycles and if he can get back out. But tough day for the Meyer-Shank Racing team, number 60. Meyer-Shank, they are still running Firestones this year, but they have made the swap from Honda to Toyota. They are now running Toyota engines. So we talked about that at the start of the broadcast with these new engine programs from Toyota and Ford. The rest of them seem to be running strong now, but you're always going to have at least some losses, throughout the race. So we will see how the rest of the fleets hold up for Ford and Toyota, and see if these new engine programs are going to be affected by attrition or not. As you see, Felix Rosenquist is officially in 25th position. We're going to hold until we hear from race control whether or not they have actually parked it at this point or not. So we will stay on top of that developing story and see if we can get you some more information. Despite the bumping and losing of several wings there at the beginning of the race, we have just rolled over lap 25, and we are still green. Like I said, we saw that one car that was slow up against the front stretch wall a few laps ago, but race control determined that they were far enough off the racing line, I guess, and that they were still under power, so they determined to stay green. As we ride along here with our leader at the moment, Alex Palou, last year's NTT IndyCar season winner. Alex Palou, as you see, DHL has moved over to his car for the year as his main sponsor. And we will note that Chip Ganassi Racing, as he's lost his front wings, he's going to have to come down. He must have touched wheels with Graham Rahal there. But Chip Ganassi Racing, they have decided to stay with Honda and Firestone. That was, historically, that's kind of what they ran. In the 90s, they had good luck with that setup. And so Chip Ganassi has decided to stay with Honda and then keep running the Firestones. So you see some smoke there, and another car slow up against the front stretch wall. They just seem to be getting called out. I think turn 4, despite this oval being pretty well symmetrical, turn 4 seems to catch a lot of them out. If you cut down that apron just a little too much, like I said, if you get all 4 wheels below that white line, it just kind of grabs and you're there. And now sometimes that just means you lose a lot of momentum. But we're also seeing those guys that are going down through the grass. If you get all 4 wheels off and you're in any kind of positive lock, if you will, on your wheel, then it just kind of catches and shoots you down to that inside wall. So they're definitely going to have to try to compensate for that. And the easiest solution would be just to stop going down completely. As you see right there, Will Power, he kind of towed the line just a little bit. We'll ride along with him for the time being. See Scott Dixon coming up behind him there, but Scott is, I believe race control saying he's 1 lap down at this time. He was one of those early cars within the first 6 or 7 laps that had to come out for a new front wing. But being as IndyCar has not raced here since the early 2010s, you know, it was bound to be a race filled with attrition. Not only, you know, people actually being out, but you know, mechanical issues like that, you know, losing wings, having to come down for you know, adjustments. As we've seen with some of the teams, though, a few have had to make extended stops, even though they didn't have any damage from touching wheels or anything. A few teams have relayed back to race control that they had either some brake issues with one team, and then one team was having issues with their boost valve. So a lot of developing stories here. You know, like I said, when you haven't been to a track in about 15 years, there's only a few guys still in the series that have raced here. Scott Dixon being one of them. But you know, it's pretty much like everybody's having to relearn at this point, which was one reason that we were so surprised in the booth when Tom Blomqvist got the pole. You know, him being a rookie, and as far as we can determine, having some of our historians look through and try to correct us on this, if you will. But as far as we can tell, this is the first time that Blomqvist has ever raced an oval like this. He really doesn't have any oval experience, so you know, seeing that he's doing good, as we see Marcus Armstrong dive to the inside of Will Power. You know, a lot of these rookies have been you know, have been very racy, and they have really held their own here. So they're really taking advantage of that time gap. You know, being as IndyCar hasn't been back since the early 2010s. You know, like I said, it's pretty well a reset for everyone. You know, even if you had racing experience here, you know, the track's completely different as far as you know, how the track has worn over the years. You know, whether it's been NASCAR or, you know, weekly series racing here. You know, the asphalt has really changed over time. You know, in 15 years, you would expect that it's enough of a change that, you know, even some of our veterans like Scott Dixon, we saw him get called out early, touching wheels with someone using his front wing. So you'll see Will Power, if he has the choice, he will try to run that higher line I've been seeing throughout practice and now during the race. He seems to really prefer sticking with that lower racing line, although as we see it gets squeezed down there a bit, just because of the track's surface and how it races. You know, we really don't see a lot of guys going up on the high side. Several drivers, as we see our first round of green flag pit stops beginning here. These are scheduled stops as we ride along here with Will Power looking on from the car behind him. But you know, just due to the track wear and also the track temperature, you know, it's pretty warm today despite being you know, early in the season. You know, with that Florida sun shining down on the track, it can get a little slick on the higher side. Several drivers were reporting throughout the race weekend that if they tried to run that high side with a mix of the track wear, and then there's been a lot of marbling here at the race also, due to these new tires being ran, because not only has Goodyear joined in on the tire battle, but Firestone has also brought a new tire compound as well. Because previous years, the only ovals that we've raced as far as super speedways have been the 500 and the Texas. So both Firestone and then obviously Goodyear brought new tire compounds. So throughout the weekend, guys were saying in the drivers' meetings and whatnot that they couldn't really run the high side. You could get up there for a lap or two, but then as we see Scott Dixon come down for his scheduled pit stop. But like I was saying, they've talked about all weekend that you could run up there for a lap or two, but once your tires start showing any wear, there's not enough grip up there to race. So, like I said, some of them have resorted to kind of trying to run that bottom line or the apron, if you will, because some of them try to just put two wheels down below the white line on the apron, but then some guys you'll see put the whole car down there. So varying strategies we're seeing today as we're coming up on lap 50, and we are still green here. So despite the early attrition that we've seen, we have been able to stay green, and we will see once these green flag pit stops cycle where we are in the grand scheme of things. Riding along here with the 28 car, the 28 of Marcus Ericsson. He moved over to Andretti this year, and Andretti has made the switch from Hondas to they are now running Ford power plants, and they are running Goodyear tires. So they were one of the teams that when Ford announced that they would be coming back for this season, they were one of the first teams to sign up, and they've been doing some winter testing with them, and Michael Andretti and crew seem to really be liking the engine package that Ford has put together. They were able to leverage a lot of the research from the 3-liter EcoBoost production engine to designing this 2.2-liter twin turbocharged V6. From what they've told us, obviously they don't want to delve into too much of their formula, but from what we've been able to talk to Ford representatives at the track here, they were saying that the IndyCar engine is a direct descendant from the 3-liter EcoBoost. So they pretty well copied at least the block design from the EcoBoost, and then obviously backed it down from 3 liters to 2.2. We had a momentary, let's see, we're getting word from race control that the yellow was shown momentarily. That was due to some track wiring. They had an issue with one of the lights, and that they expected that might happen, so they had passed word to the teams that just to ignore that for just that lap. They're still trying to get some things worked in as we have the electronics here at the Speedway for IndyCar timing have just been put in. Our timing is being sponsored this year by Casio. but they'd been running some tests, and so they had determined that was going to happen at some point during the race. They needed to test just wiring and things of that nature, make sure that all their software was looking good. So we're getting word that the teams had been forewarned about that, and in the event of an actual caution that just so happened to happen, at the same time, race control was on with each team and with each driver, giving them up-to-date information for that lap. So, just like with the rest of the series, there's a lot of things that are getting hammered out. At this first race, IndyCar has had a lot of new sponsorship and new companies come in. So whether that's engine manufacturers or tire manufacturers, as we mentioned, Casio is doing our timing and scoring. So there's been a lot of updates. One of the biggest of which being the swap from NBC back to ABC. So we look forward to bringing you each of the 25 races this year. Some of them will be ABC proper, and some of them will be broadcast on ESPN, simulcast, that is. So all races will be available on ABC, and certain races, as I said, will be simulcast. That way the maximum amount of eyes can be put on IndyCar, because we really feel that this program that we're putting together, that there's a lot to be excited about. Whether you're an old IndyCar fan, whether you left the sport for a few years and are coming back, if that's the case, or if you're a new IndyCar fan, or if you just turned on and you've never seen the IndyCar race before, we want you to have a good experience and enjoy the race. As we're going through here, we're noting that Remy Grosjean and Augustin Canapino, two teammates, have really stuck together. As we see Canapino get passed by McLaughlin, but for the most part, all throughout the race, those two guys have stuck together pretty closely. So that must be a strategy they are trying out, at least for this race. As I said, this is new territory for all the teams and the drivers. Like I said, even if they've had previous experience here, it's been so long since we've been back to Homestead-Miami that each team you see is trying different strategies and trying to come up with ways that they can win this thing. As I mentioned, earlier, we talked about our 25 race schedule, and that really was an update from 17 previous year, and this being a fantasy series, we really thought that the 25 race schedule would really open up a lot of opportunities for IndyCar, and so. Starting at Homestead-Miami, that was something that we wanted to do, just as kind of a legacy IndyCar thing, if you will. For the longest time in the 2000s, Homestead was the first race of the season, and since about 2012, 2013, St. Petersburg has been the opening. So IndyCar determined going into this season that if we were going to be starting at Homestead to run St. Pete next weekend and kind of have a Florida swing of the series, if you will, and that way teams could bring down, you know, all the equipment and things of that nature that they needed to run both races instead of having to go back and forth to Indianapolis. So, as I said, tune in next Sunday at noon, same time that our race here started, for the Samsung Indy GP of St. Petersburg. And like I said, we wanted to keep those together. For one, you know, with it being early spring, the weather and temperatures in a lot of other places would not be conducive of racing Indy cars, especially with new tire manufacturers coming in, and with new races like this being on an oval we haven't been to in over 15 years. So the determination was, if we were going to have an oval race for the start, not only should it be Homestead-Miami due to kind of historical significance, if you will, for IndyCar racing, but then also the weather in South Florida was conducive for having these races back to back and not having to worry too much about you know, track temperature and things of that nature. You know, versus if we went, you know, like to the Milwaukee Mile or something like that. You know, these you can put a lot of work into your wheel and tire program, but you know, these Indy cars are not made to race 180, 200 miles an hour around an oval if the ambient temperature is 40 degrees. You know, that's not going to end well. The tires aren't made for that. You know, grip would be an obvious issue throughout the entire race. So, like I said, IndyCar just figured that this was the best move, and also the historical significance of both the Homestead-Miami race and St. Pete being at the forefront of our IndyCar schedule. So we determined to run them that way. After the street course at St. Pete, we will be heading March 17th to Kentucky Speedway. That's another 1.5-mile track that we have not been to since the early 2010s, and so we're looking forward to racing at the oval there. From there, we'll be heading to Barber Motorsports Park in Birmingham, Alabama, for the Airbus Indy GP of Alabama. And then at the end of the month, March 31st, we'll be heading to Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the Coke Zero Indy 400. And there was a lot of talks over the off season, both with IndyCar officials, with drivers, with members of the AMR safety team, and the determination was made that IndyCar would return to Las Vegas. Since 2011, you know, with the loss of, or 2010 rather, I'm sorry, with the loss of Dan Weldon, you know, IndyCar has shied away not only from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but from a lot of ovals. You know, throughout the schedule, you'll see us talk about ovals that IndyCar stopped running in the early 2010s. So we have IndyCar as an organization has determined that with the aero screen and with the safety updates that have been made to the cars, and all of the safety equipment in place, including the AMR safety team, IndyCar has determined that those races are safe enough, and that, you know, due to due to fan interest and driver interest and overall series interest that we needed to return to some of these tracks. Another track that we haven't been to in several years, but has always put on good racing, will be the 6th race of the year, the Pennzoil Indy GP at the Glen. We're looking forward to returning to Watkins Glen as we ride along here with, as we see Will Power dive to the inside there. We're looking backwards. We're riding along with Augustin Canapino there, and now we're looking back with Will Power. So Canapino there, and then the 66 of Blomqvist. So these guys have pretty well stuck together since the beginning. You know, Blomqvist, as we were speaking about earlier, him being a rookie, he has really put together a fast car for this weekend, him and his team. And then he has, as we see the next round of green flag pit stops beginning, but him and his team have put together a really fast race car, and obviously a pretty good plan for today, because they have been in the top 5 all day. So it's good to see that we have made it into our second round of green flag pit stops. So we look here at Will Power getting his work finished. Got 4 new Goodyear tires and a full tank of Shell Racing fuel. So he uses the blend line there to get back out, get up to speed. So we're seeing several different strategies, but it seems like this main pack has kind of been pitting together. As we see several more guys come down for their scheduled pit stops. And through these pit stops cycling, we see Graham Rahal and Scott Dixon running 1 and 2 as they finally dive down from pit road. So they have been able to, I guess since they were able to run longer on that first stint, if you will, since they had to come in, both of them have lost the front wings. I guess those few extra laps of fuel have put them on a strategy where they were able to get their lap back through these pit stops. So we'll keep an eye on them. They're going to kind of be back on the same fuel strategy as everyone else, or at least the main pack. But I would suspect that once green flag pit stops cycle here, that they probably won't be a whole lap down, but they're still going to have a long way to fight. But it is good to see that they're still competitive and still turning some pretty quick laps. You see, looks like Scott Dixon so far is cycling out in the 9th place. In the 14th place. So we will keep an eye on him throughout the rest of the race, see if he cycles up anymore. We're hearing that at race control that Roman Grosjean may have had an incident while getting on the pit road. So we will keep an eye on that. I don't know that he has any damage. Oh, as we see one of the Hunkos Hollinger cars slam into the wall there. I believe that's Augustin Canapino. So They have kind of right there on the front stretch. Oh no, race control is saying that was Grosjean. He must have had looked like something broke in the steering. Once he got on the front stretch, it just went straight into the inner wall there. So he might have got into somebody while he's coming to the pits or something, and been a control arm or something like that. It either snapped or was was broken enough that unfortunately put him into the wall, and I believe he will either be out first or see a puff of smoke there, and the yellow has come out for the first time today. We will wait and get word from race control as to who was involved. We're being told, unfortunately, it is Grosjean's teammate of Augustin Canapino that also wrecked there, coming out of turn 4. So, in a bizarre series of events, in green flag stops, both Juncos Hollinger cars have been taken out due to incident. Race control has confirmed that Grosjean had touched wheels with another car coming to the pits. I believe it was one of the Meyer Shank cars, and they had contact while coming to the pits, and so they believe it might have been a bent control arm. And then once he got back up to speed and got around the turn 4, the damage, it either broke or it was damaged enough that the car was kind of crabbing, and once he came onto the front stretch and kind of clipped the apron there, it shot him down into the end of the inner wall. Race control is giving us word that Canapino, it looks like he's on fresh tires. He just came out of his scheduled pit stop. It looks like he just with cold tires just ran too far up the track into those marbles we were talking about earlier, and I just lost it and put it into the outside wall. Coming out of turn 4, which unfortunately had just caught his teammate out not 2 laps before. So that one run of green flag pit stops ends up catching out both Juncos Hollinger cars. So we're hearing that they are trying to work on Grosjean's car, but I believe at this point that Canapino's car is probably not salvageable. But we will keep an eye on it and get you an update as soon as we can, and hear from race control. But once those guys get released from the infield care center, we will try to get some information from race control about how they're doing and whether or not they think they can fix the cars. So we made it until lap 96 before we had our first caution. So despite some early attrition with some lost nose cones and wings, but beyond that, the only huge mechanical failure we've seen so far has been whatever issue that Felix Rosenquist's team was having. And then we're also getting word from race control that David Malukas is back in the garage and is now out of the race due to some mechanical failure. So we will try to get some information on that and get you updates as soon as we can. But your current running order is Marcus Ericsson, followed by Joseph Newgard, and then one of the Arrow McLaren cars, Blue at Pato Award, and then our pole sitter of Tom Blomqvist. So he has really been strong all race. And he hasn't been out of the top 5 all day besides cycling through pits. So as we come up on the halfway point here, this has been the only caution so far. We will keep an eye out as race control is determined to leave the pace car one more lap as we see someone duck down pit road. We have now made it to the halfway point, so 150 miles down, 150 left to go, and hopefully the second half can be just as good as the first. As I will point out, it does appear that Joseph Newgard is missing his left engine pod cover, if you will. We're being told that's just a graphical glitch, that he had lost that piece before during an incident, but came down pit road and got that replaced. So it's just a bit of artifacting left over, but there is no cause for concern there. As the pace car brings the field around one more time, we should see the pace car driver dive for the pits there. And we are back green. Marcus Ericsson leads them down into turn 1. His Aaron McLaren car gets a huge run on our leader. We will see if Ericsson can hold Award's advancements off. Award has looked fast both today and yesterday in practice qualifying. He has had a fast-looking car. I'm checking the notes from yesterday. Yeah, so Award, and he really seems to be getting better. He looked great in practice. Was showing that he qualified 17. So short runs he has not had a whole lot, but in these longer runs. And as you saw, he didn't come down pit, so he was on tires, which he had just pitted. Was showing 2 laps before that caution. So having some scuffed tires on there, on these longer runs, he seems to really have a good car. As we ride along here on the back of Blomqvist's car, we see 2 different strategies there. You see Newgard running the higher side, and then Marcus Ericsson trying to run the apron there. So you'll see when guys do run the apron, they're really able to dive it in a lot further than the guys up on the racing group, but they usually just can't get it to stick, as we see both Newgarden and Mark Ericsson fall back from Blomqvist there, who one of the reasons that we're attributing his speed and strength throughout the weekend is the fact that he has pretty much run that bottom racing line the whole time. I've only seen him go down below the white line just a handful of times. That was just because he got forced down when there was a car in front of him or competitor beside him. As we see Ward get a good run here through the straightaway, but then diving down onto the apron there just kind of kills all of your momentum. As we did verbally here, right there, it sounded like Blomqvist may be lifting just a little bit to get into the corners, and I guess that's why we see guys like Ward get such a big run. But then, since Blomqvist is running that racing line, despite him having to get out of the gas, once the guys like Ward jump down there on the apron, they're just not able to keep their momentum. As we come up on lap 111, your current leader is still Tom Blomqvist. Like I said, he has been one of the many rookies here today that have really shined. We had talked earlier and really throughout the early preseason stuff about attrition, how these new engines and setups were going to work. But Blomqvist and Meyer-Shank, they were one of the teams that transitioned from Honda to Toyota, and so we see here that there's obviously nothing wrong with his new Toyota engine. Unfortunately, though, his teammate Felix Rosenqvist, he went out lap 6 with some sort of mechanical failure. We still haven't gotten word, as we see Ward actually give Blomqvist a little bit of a shunt as he drifted up the track a little bit. They'll have to be careful doing things like that. Ooh, there's several cars diving in the pits here, and I'm not sure who that is in front of that. Oh, that is the 4 car of Kiffin Simpson. Coming to pits, he nearly lost it. Which we figured that we might see that throughout the day. And that goes back to the issue of the guys jumping down onto the apron there. But being as that apron is so slick, especially trying to come in pit road, as we watch on with green flag pit stops here for the Meyer-Shank team of Blomqvist. But the transition there from racing line to pit entry is pretty tough, and we see it almost catch out Simpson there, and it's nearly gotten a few people today, because right there in turn 4 you've got to come off the racing line, across the apron, and then down onto pit road at pit road speeds, right there within the corner. So it nearly caught Simpson out. Luckily it has not, although we see Blomqvist go around him for what will later be putting him a lap down once these green flag fuel stops cycle. And we'll keep an eye out just in case we have any more yellows as these green flag pit stops cycle. And we were kind of thinking that we might end up seeing some issues during the green flag stops, just because it's the first race of the season. Yes, we're showing currently Pato O'Ward as your leader, and then Joseph Newgarden second. Being as it's the first race of the year, and then also it being the first oval besides Indy and Texas that we've ran in the last several years, we figured that it would actually catch a lot more people out. As we ride along here, looking back from the nose of the number 7 car of Alexander Rossi, riding along with the 5 here of his teammate Pato O'Ward, who is currently your leader. Like I said, O'Ward really seems to have a good car in for these long green flag runs. He's been able to come from 17th, and now here he is leading pretty consistently, being at the front a good bit. I said, here just past the halfway point, he's cycled up to the lead, but he's been charging all day. It seems like the longer a run goes, that he gets better and better. So, it's odd. Usually it's the opposite. When guys come down and get fresh tires, they run the best. But as these cycles keep going, we see that O'Ward just gets faster and faster as the run goes along, and he reaches his pit window. As you see him drafting up here on Scott Dixon. So Dixon is, for the moment, on the lead lap, but as we see him get past here, he'll go back a lap down. Both he and Ray Hall there, they've kind of been cycling back and forth. They're right on the cusp of being lapped down. They both had within lap. I think Dixon was on lap 3, and then Ray Hall had to come down lap 6 for new front wings. So they have fought back here and have really moved up through the field, despite just now being put back a lap down. But they are really holding on for what their team would have originally thought of as a done day. So good to see that they're still hanging on and fighting. As you see a battle for the lead here between Joseph Newgarden and Pato O'Ward. Newgarden is fast, and he also seems to do pretty good on these long stretches, but he keeps running that apron line, and you've seen it catch him out a few times. If he just goes down with just 2 wheels below the white line, it's not too bad, and he's able to really get a run. As we see, he has made it past O'Ward. But there's been a few times where he jumped down there, and all 4s ended up gripping. And as you see him peel off for the pits here. But there's been several times where he's had a good run on O'Ward and just stuck it too far in down the apron. It kind of caught and really lose all the momentum he had built up. Renus VK in 3rd. We haven't talked about him very much today, but he's been a pretty strong competitor. He's been in the top 10 all day. We haven't seen him lead a lap yet, but he's just been consistent, been putting strong laps down, and that's all you can ask for at this point. You're riding around trying to stay with this lead group as you ride along here with Newgarden as he comes out of the pits. But yeah, you're just trying to hang on and make what you can out of the situation. And come about lap 180, I would figure that we'll really see VK and the rest of the field really come alive and really start pushing. So you ride along here with Pato Award. Pato has not taken a similar outlook to VK of riding around and biding his time, but Pato has seemed to have been all go, which that's his personality, is all go, so it really fits that he is really being a hard charger and really sticking with it here. So we've really seen two different fuel groups here. Blomqvist and some of the others, like Scott Dixon, pitted around lap 115, and then the other group, namely of Joseph Newgarden and Award, we saw them pit around lap 130, 132, 133 or so. So there's two competing fuel strategies here, and we will see how they cycle out. Which one caution could turn that on its head. But for the time being, lap 137, we are still green. At the moment, we've had just the one caution flag at lap 96 for Augustin Canapino's wreck coming out of turn 4. So we are staying green. We'd like to remind you that this is being simulcast on ABC and ESPN. As we follow along here with Tom Blomqvist, he has just been strong all day. He has been putting on a clinic for these other young guys that this might be their first oval race. For some of them it is. We see a good bit of damage on Scott McLaughlin's car. It looks like somebody got into the back of him, so that team might be trying to determine how much damage he's got, because he's almost at the end of his fuel run here. But it looks like, and we're getting word from race control, he may have been trying to come to the pits, and then a slower car behind him got into it, looks like. So I think they are still out there trying to cycle and get a feel of what's damaged and what may need to be fixed when they come out. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. Oh, as we see Newgarden get in the back with Kiffin Simpson and lose his wings, he's going to have to come down. Simpson's been a bit off the pace today, but it looked like Newgarden was trying to run that apron to get around him, and he lost his wing there. So hopefully he can limp it back around and make it into the pits. As we ride along here with Graham Rahal, as we talked about before, despite him having come down on lap 6 for a new front wing, he is really holding strong. And if we get into the caution here, he can cycle back to the lead lap. Then he's got a pretty competitive car, and it's a real shame that he had that incident on lap 6, because he's looked fast all weekend, and seems to have a pretty strong car. The Ray Hall team, they're still racing Firestones this year, but like Meyer Shank, they have transitioned to Toyota engines. There's a lot of historical significance there also with Ray Hall's team running Toyotas. That's spanning back to the early 90s. So, Graham Rahal and especially Bobby, they were both very excited to hear when they talked about Toyota coming back. So they were one of the first adopters, and they quickly jumped on the Toyota engine program, and we're really happy to see them come back. And they got some sponsorship there. They're helping with some funding and things of that nature. So it's a very good mutual deal there between the Ray Hall team and Toyota. Now that both sets of green flag pit stops seem to have cycled through, your current leader is once again Marcus Ericsson, and he too has been strong all day. Blomqvist in second, he started up front, but Ericsson, he started, let's check, he started all the way back in 19th. So like Pato in fourth, he has really been pushing and has made it back. And we see, I guess, through that caution and then the green flag pit stop, Scott Dixon has actually cycled up to fifth. So he has gotten his lap back, and he is up to fifth. So the number 9 team, Chip Ganassi Racing, has really turned it around. And you see Ray Hall is in 11th, but still both of those teams have fixed these cars despite early issues, and have really gotten their drivers back into it. As we're at the 3/4 mark with 50 laps to go. Keep an eye on these two lead cars here. I'm sorry, that is the 14 car of Santino Ferrucci, and it looks like he's trying to get his lap back from the leader. So we're actually showing Marcus Ericsson's actually got a pretty good gap between him and second place Blomqvist. Hopefully we will get a good shootout here between Blomqvist and the 28 car. So as we see somebody come down pit road, and just because of those early incidents, and then the one caution we've had, there's a lot of cars that seem to kind of be on their own fuel schedule. So but for the time being, the two main groups have been Ericsson, who we're riding along with here, and Blomqvist, and then the second fuel round of O'Ward and Newgard. They've been trading lead back and forth, pretty much those 4 cars. As we will note, throughout the series, we will be working on the paint schemes. DHL is now the sponsor of the 10 car, and the 28 here, their sponsor is Delaware Life. We have a few of the paint schemes that are updated, but through the season we will continue updating the different paint schemes. So just bear with on that front. As we see, Ericsson's still your leader, but Christian Lundgaard has cycled to second. So we're right along with him. Another one of those Rahal Letterman cars. And then here we are with Blomqvist. Alexander Rossi runs fourth, and Scott McLaughlin rounds out your top five. It does not look like they have hit, as we see VK in sixth. So the McLaughlin team, they must have just come down for fuel. As we see Ericsson take his scheduled pit stop. So they must have determined that whatever was wrong with the rear wing, either it was fixable and they just kind of beat it back into place, which I would find hard to believe the carbon fiber wing, but maybe they determined that they were able to kind of pop it back into place. Sometimes with that carbon fiber, it can get warped, but you can pop it back into place sometimes. So that may have been the case. He might have just had a little bit of contact when he was attempting to come to the pits that time, so it might have. And I guess we had seen Dixon take an early pit stop a while ago, because we're seeing him cycle back all the way to 14th again. So hopefully he is still on the lead lap as we ride along with two of the Andretti cars here. And then we will make a note that in 19th it shows driving the 4 car is Martin. That is a clerical error. The number 4 car is Kiffin Simpson. I see Alex Palou, your last year's championship winner, is out of the race. We had heard earlier, as well as the 30 car for RLL. We had heard that Palou had undetermined mechanical failure earlier, so we will try to get word on that and find out what happened. The RLL car, the 30, that was Pietro Fittipaldi, it's looking like they had a wheel bearing issue, is what we're being told. But we will try to get some more information on Alex Palou, as despite this being the first race in a 25 race season, last year's points leader being out of first race, that's going to have a lot of points implications. So we will get with his team as they have information available. But despite having some sort of mechanical failure, we can't point this back to it being a new setup, if you will, because the Chip Ganassi cars are still running Honda and Firestone tires. So we will just have to see if the team will disclose, what's going on there. As we see, Christian Lundgaard is still running first with Scott McLaughlin second, and we see Blomqvist there, but he has been in for what will be his next to last pit stop. So he's right around where he had been, but just a lap behind, being as he's already pitted, and as of right now the 45 car has stayed out. So it's obvious that they're on a different fuel strategy, so we will see when the 45 dives for the pits. At this point, with everyone coming down for scheduled pit stops, it would be likely that we'll only see one more round of pit stops if we stay green. Now, if we have a caution, all bets are out the window. As you're probably going to have guys diving for pit road and getting a full tank of fuel and then 4 new tires. So, one caution could throw all of this on its head. But for the time being, with that one exception of the caution at lap 96, we have been green since then. So, out of 170 laps, we only had 4 in the caution. So, I would say that the fans in attendance have definitely gotten their money's worth. So we ride along here with the 14 of let's see as we cycle through here. As we pit stop cycle, we should see. I thought the 45 was going to die for the pits that lap, but we'll have to keep an eye on when they do their scheduled pit stops. We see him go wheel to wheel with Scott Dixon. We see that the 45 is still out. I guess they're trying to run to the very end of their pit window. That way, they'll definitely have enough fuel to make it should the race stay green. So, definitely seeing some different strategies play out with everything going on here. Christian Lundgaard is still your leader as of lap 175. 25 to go. We see Alexander Rossi in second, and Scott McLaughlin in third. The 21 of Renus VK, just as we had spoke about before, here it is, 25 laps to go or so. He is back up in the top 5, ready to fight. Followed by his rookie teammate Christian Rasmussen in 5th place. Will Power is up to 6th. He's been in the top 10 most of the day, so we'll look for a charge from him. Stingray Rob in 7th. That's the second AJ Ford car. Marcus Ericsson is cycled in 8th at the moment, with Pato Award at 9th. They're both on that same fuel strategy, as is Joseph Dugard, who rounds out your top 10. Tom Blomqvist being shown in 11th right now. And then there is an error with the 8 car. It shows as Ericsson, but the 8 car is actually Linus Lundqvist. So we will get that fixed on the ticker for the next race, along with the other issues that we have noted. But timing and scoring is still doing an excellent job today, considering that this is their first race ever with the Casio timing and scoring team. So they've been putting in a lot of hard work over the last few weeks, and it's good to see that it is really paying off. As we see the 45 car here go all 4 tires down below the apron, just seems to kill a lot of your forward momentum. So he may have just been trying to run a different line there, to save some fuel, but I doubt we'll see him running that line again. As we see, he stays above the white cutoff line there. Christian Lundgaard, he is seemed pretty strong all day. Just like the 66 car of Blomqvist, his team is running the new Toyota engine, and he must be pretty happy with his setup right now, because he seems to be saving more fuel than anybody else could, despite running out front. So he is riding around and biding his time, I would assume, trying to save as much fuel as he can. He'll try to get word from race control when was the last time he pitted, but I would assume that he would still have to come down for one more pit stop. But we'll check in on that and see what we can find. Your top 5 is Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin, who has just been passed by Rinus VeeKay. It looks like McLaughlin might be pitting. As we see some cars beginning to file out. You see Blomqvist up to 4th and Award back up to 5th. I guess this is we have some contact there between the 11 car of Marcus Armstrong and the 45 car of Lundgaard. So this was we're getting word that was the 11 car of Marcus Armstrong, and now the 45's day is pretty well done. They've got some damage, so they're having to fix it. As we ride along here, the cab view, if you will, looking back at the driver. All he needed was a splash of fuel and then to get back out. But since he had that contact with the 11 on Marcus Armstrong, who had just came out of the pits the lap before, they had to fix that damage. So we'll have to ride along and see where Lundgaard cycles out. But that's some valuable time that was lost, as we see the 11 car coming back off pit road. Undoubtedly, they had to come down and fix some damage from that incident. So this is the second time in the race we've seen some heavy contact with guys trying to come down to pit road, and then guys that are running that lower line that just came out. There is that blend line on turn 2, but or coming out of turn 2, but even then, by the time you get to turn 4, you're still not running full tilt. So that was just a case of Lundgaard trying to get to pit road, and the 11 car having just came out of pit road, and it was just a slower car, and just kind of caught Lundgaard out. The 11 was on the bottom, and he tried to cut all the way across, and we had talked about that before with that transition from racing line down across the apron, and then trying to get down to pit road speed, before you cross that timing and scoring line. So we've seen it catch a few people out today. Kevin Simpson almost spun in front of the leaders earlier, making one of his green flag pit stops, and then we see Christian Lundgaard here have an issue coming to pit, and that's a real shame too, because all he needed was just a splash of fuel. The current race leader is Pato O'Ward, followed by Marcus Ericsson, Alexander Rossi, and our pole sitter Tom Blomqvist. We're gonna have to keep a close eye here on fuel, because both Marcus Ericsson, Pato O'Ward, and Alexander Rossi are all 3 on kind of that same fuel strategy, and it's been quite a while since they pitted, so they are just trying to stretch it to the end here. So we will see if they will make it. Race control is showing that Marcus Ericsson last pitted lap 164, and as we get a ride along with him, looking back at Award, but they nearly touch wheels there. So Ericsson's last pit stop was lap 164, and Award's last was 165. So we will see if they've got enough fuel in it to make it. As we ride along here with Marcus Ericsson, you can hear him really get out of the gas there, and just coasting through the corners, just try to save as much fuel as he can, despite being in the lead. So you can hear him really get out of it as we see Award split off for the pits. So he will not make it, and that can't be good news for the Ericsson team. Does this Andretti car have enough to make it? Guess we'll find out in a couple laps here. We will see how efficient these Ford engines are. As Fords run 1 and 2, as you see Alexander Rossi dive to the bottom of Ericsson. Oh, and Ericsson is coming to pit. With 2 laps to go, the leader had to pit and cannot make it around. So your new race leader is Alexander Rossi, and that moves Tom Blomqvist up to second, who is on a completely different fuel strategy from these 3. We are hearing that on that last pit stop that Rossi pitted lap 167, so he may make it. You know, he's 2 laps to the better from Ericsson. So as he comes out of turn 4, Alexander Rossi will be our winner. You can hear him really roll out of it. I would assume he has got to be on absolute fumes. So, what a race. Alexander Rossi is your winner for the Homestead-Miami Indy 300 presented by Ford. It just so happened that Ford won the race. And he did it with Goodyear tires. This being Goodyear's first race in IndyCar since the 90s. So good to see them back, and they pull off a win. Folks, if you were worried about the new engine programs, both Ford and Toyota, worry no longer, because Ford and Toyota come 1-2. Goodyear and Firestone come 1-2. So it looks like we're going to see a good bit of competition here throughout the season. Rossi gets a win. Blomqvist, he was strong all day. Started on pole, and he was top 3 all day. Rinus VeeKay, we talked about him earlier. He made a hard charge there at the end. Ended up 3rd. Christian Lundgaard, despite having that issue when he came to the pits for that splash show around lap 185, he cycles to 4th. So pretty good finish, despite, if you ask them, he felt like he probably could have, done better had they not had that issue. And Scott McLaughlin rounds out your top 5. Homestead-Miami Speedway, as we ride along here with your race winner, Alexander Rossi, and we'll watch him burn those good years down. just taking a look at the upcoming schedule. Next Sunday at noon, we have the Samsung Indy GP of St. Petersburg. And then the Sunday after that, we'll have the Chevrolet Indy Kentucky 300. And we look forward to both of those. Fourth race of the year, the Airbus Indy GP of Alabama. And then the fifth race will be the Coke Zero Indy 400 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We have an exciting 24 races left ahead of us, and we hope that you can join us for each and every one of them. Join us next Sunday as we head to the Samsung Indy GP of St. Petersburg. This has been a presentation of ABC.